Good evening, everyone. This is High Point Mayor Jay Wagner, welcoming everyone to this meeting of the High Point City Council for June 6th. For those listening online, all members of council are present except for Councilman Wesley Hudson. I believe he may be listening online, but he will not be able to vote at the meeting because he's not physically present. I would like to take the time to welcome all of you and thank you so much for coming out and participating in local government. We will begin our meeting with I'll ask everyone to rise for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which is nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I have a couple of, there's one proclamation and one recognition. The proclamation is regarding National Homeowner Month, and I will go ahead and read it. Whereas knowledge of home ownership will serve to educate our citizens to the home buying process and promote community development programs. And whereas the High Point Housing Coalition recognizes that home ownership is an important part of the American dream and strengthens families and encourages residents to take pride in their neighborhoods and to take an active role in their community. And whereas the High Point City Council has empowered the Community Development and Housing Department and its community partners to supply the community with decent, safe, and sanitary affordable housing opportunities throughout High Point through the provision of rehabilitation, down payment, and closing cost assistance to meet the needs of low to moderate income persons. And whereas during this time of constricted federal contributions, the challenge of meeting the needs for safe, sanitary, and decent housing stock continues to grow, as evidenced by increased cost, housing problems, and deteriorating housing stock. And whereas the Housing and Urban Development Department has declared the month of June 2022 as National Homeownership Month and have called upon the citizens to build a more hopeful society and recognize the importance of expanding ownership of homes across our great nation. Now, therefore, I, J.W. Wagner, Mayor of the City of High Point, do hereby proclaim the month of June 2022 as Home Ownership Month in the City of High Point, North Carolina, and call upon all our citizens to join me in this worthy observance. Is there someone from community development? Do we have somebody? Or there we go. Well, hello, Mr. Key. How are you? What hat are you? What hat are you wearing? Okay. All right. See you, Steve. Next on the agenda is our recognition of the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance, the VITA program. And I think we have someone from staff maybe who's handling that.
Good evening. I want to thank everyone for allowing us to come and present about the VITA program, City Council and Mayor Wagner. I'm Megan Scales, Community Resource Specialist in the Community Development and Housing Department. So today we're here to recognize the volunteers who donated their time and talents to the VITA program. And just for those of y'all who aren't familiar, VITA is a program that assists low to moderate income households with free basic tax assistance. So generally households $57,000 and below. The average refund, tax refund to get it done professionally is $250, and a lot of the residents who we serve can't afford or find that in their budget. I think of one gentleman we served at GTCC Jamestown. He's on Social Security disability, and he had to move around his food or his rent budget just to be able to professionally have his tax return done. And these volunteers that are here today stepped up to the plate and said, nope, I'm going to help. I'm going to study tax law. I'm going to become familiar with it. I'm going to serve my community. So we really just want to recognize these folks today for their hard work. Between, and just a big number that I wanted to throw out, so between saving, we did 797 returns this season between January 24th and April 18th. Average refund is $250 plus the average, average return preparation is $250. The average refund we got, folks, was about $1,270, so $1,270. So with that, we were able to save taxpayers $1.2 million to put back into the local economy, which is really cool, and we're really proud of what we were able to accomplish. So with a little backstory and what we've been able to accomplish today, I'm going to recognize first the folks who couldn't be here tonight that did serve during the VITA season, as well as the host sites who couldn't make it. And then I'm going to present certificates to those that are here this evening. So as I gather myself, excuse me. So the folks who couldn't attend but did volunteer with us were Patricia Anderson, Christina Bell, Amy Seidel, Chris Carrico, Janice Cortez, Haida Desai, Sharnae Dorsey, Alicia Doolin, Aaron George, Jamie Hupel, Beth Logan, Dalton Lucas, Cassidy McFeely, Tu Nguyen, Lizbeth Ramirez, Linda Staton, Ernest Sutton, Petrus Fume, Kia Marilyn Vargas, Hannah Ward, and Brian Zarowski. So these folks come from all different walks of life. Some of them are students at HPU, some GTC students, some retired. So they just took the extra time to not only study, but also dedicate anywhere between 5 and 10 hours of their week post-work or during the day to commit to VITA. So we just really appreciate them. We did have 8 host sites. Some of them are here tonight and some could not make it. The ones that could not make it this evening were West End Ministries, Macedonia Resource Center, and GTCC Jamestown and High Point. So now to the portion where we are going to present the certificates. I'm actually going to ask Mayor Wagner to come down and receive the first certificate. These are from the Internal Revenue Service. These are certificates of appreciation. They are signed by the spec manager. So I'm going to give this one to you as a thank you. And then if you want to go into the middle, I am going to also recognize a couple of the partner sites, and then I'll bring these over here, and then I'll have you shake folks' hand, Mayor Wagner. So the first person for the site I want to recognize is Mary Sizemore for the High Point Public Library. Mary. So Mary was able to provide a VITA first site. Oh, gorgeous. Okay. So these are the sites, and then have Jerry come up and read off the names while we're doing certificates. Okay. So the next site that we want to recognize that hosted the VITA program is the Arc of High Point, and we've got Stephanie here to accept that. Thanks, Stephanie. And then the final site that we want to recognize for being part of VITA is the YWCA High Point, and that's Heidi Majors. Okay. Awesome. So I'm actually going to have one of our community leaders, Jerry Mingo, come up, and I'm going to have our certificates for our volunteers here. Oh, you're right here. You snuck up behind me, Jerry. He has the list of folks, and these are the individuals who are going to kind of come on up, and I'll hand them their certificate.
Okay. All right, Stephanie Ann Kovac. Laura Sturgis. Lou Costello. Sharon Green. Orel Henry. Sadie Herrera. Lorraine Lydon. Sandra McMahon. Doug McMillan. Rob Sims. Luke Sinet. Sanjay Singh. Deborah Squirewell. And Sharice Rowe.
If I could, I'm sorry, we have two more. We have two more. You want to just wait on yours? Okay. Okay. Here's your Mr. Mingo. We do have some special recognitions, but just as the volunteers, we wanted to recognize Megan Scales and Mr. Jerry Mingo. They were presenting, and so those were the two that I was supposed to do. I think I got them. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry.
Okay, but we do have two special recognitions. One is for Mr. Jerry Mingo. Mr. Mingo has volunteered with VITA for 15 years. He basically has been here since the inception of the program. And if you all know Mr. Mingo, he also volunteers at our Community and Neighborhood Development Office. He's there, I think, just as much as staff is. So we really appreciate the time that he actually volunteers to our department. So we definitely want to present that to Mr. Mingo. And then we also want to recognize Ms. Sharice Rowe. Ms. Rowe has also volunteered with VITA for quite some time. It's been 10 years that she's volunteered with the program. So we want to thank her as well for her dedication and commitment to the program. Thank you.
Okay, so next on our agenda, well, is our strategic plan update. And for that, I'm going to begin by recognizing Councilman Chris Williams for an update on our blight reduction strategic plan.
Thank you, Mayor. The following report summarizes the code enforcement activity of the month of May. The local code enforcement staff processed 16 minimum housing complaints, 198 new public nuisance complaints, and collected 413 signs. And also during the month, the LCE staff recorded 25 zoning complaints. A total of 311 public nuisance cases were abated, 70 by the city and 241 by the owners. There are 8 properties with the ordinance to demolish passed, but the owners are taking steps to repair. Work is underway at 1004 Prospect Street and 524 Roy Avenue, 1113 Jefferson Street, 337 Wingo, 2206 Gable Way, 210 Underhill, 524 Cross, and 1139 Pennywood Drive. There are 5 properties with contracts to demolish. There are 4 properties that are scheduled for bid request. 2 inspectors did work on Saturday in May, collected 55 signs. Additionally, the local code enforcement section dedicated 2 hours one afternoon and collected 222 signs after the primary election. One inspector position remains open, and during this report period, there are 544 total active cases, 233 active minimum housing cases, 216 active public nuisance cases, and 95 active zoning cases. I'll now turn the floor over to Lori Loosemore with staff.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, City Manager. So just some pictures, and this is not working. Maybe I turned it on. A property that we had under inspection for quite a while. We'd inspected back in November of 2016. We recorded our information at the courthouse. We held our hearing. Then we were made aware that there was an issue with a trustee and the courts were going to have to appoint someone, and that I don't think apparently that ever happened. But this is what the property looked like. I did not have any interior pictures, so I apologize. But this is what the property looked like in 2016 from the exterior. But around October of 2018, we were made aware that the city or the county was going to be foreclosing on the property, and that they actually did foreclose, and it was switched over to a new owner on April 23rd, 2021. The new owner came in and obtained their permits for making repairs, and they just got their CO about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and this is what the property looks like now. And I do believe the owner's brother is going to live in this property.
Say the address again.
1213 Reagan. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. Oversee those projects. That's all we have, Mayor.
All right, next I'd like to recognize Councilman Michael Holmes, who chairs our Marketing and Branding Task Force.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last week on June 2nd, we had a meeting with Civic Brand where we discussed the next phase of the project. We're currently in the fact-finding phase, so there's a lot of surveys and questionnaires that the committee has to complete. And also, we have launched our community survey. So if you have not taken it, go to brandinghighpoint.com and take the survey. To date, we have about 200 responses. I'd love for that to be about 2,000 or even 20,000. That way we get a broad response from our community on what they would love to see as we undertake branding our city. So the next planned visit for Civic Brands is, I think, around August. And so at that point, we'll be engaging in some local focus groups with citizens where we have conversations about High Point and what High Point means to them and what they like to see. And we're trying to make that as diverse as possible from as many communities as we possibly can. So looking forward to the project. It's going well.
Thank you. Can you say that website one more time?
brandinghighpoint.com.
Anyone with questions about where we are on our strategic plan items? Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda is public comment period. I have a list of folks who've signed up to speak during public comment. If you're not on the list, you can still speak. You're just going to have to wait till the bottom of the list. So I will call these folks one by one. I'll ask that you please come forward to the podium and address your comments to the council. And you will have 3 minutes to speak on any item that is not an item that's on the agenda for public hearing tonight. So first person on the list is Mark Fowler.
Good evening, Council. My name is Mark Fowler. I live at 1008 Proctor Drive here in High Point, and I am a taxi driver for the city. I represent, me and my colleague here, we represent High Point Express Cabs, and we're asking that you guys look at a rate increase. We haven't had a rate increase since 2008, and with the gas prices increasing, repair costs increasing, everything's increasing except our rates. And you guys are the only ones that can change that for us.
Okay.
So,
We'll have staff look into that, and if you'll make sure they have your contact information,
sure.
then we can make sure we communicate with you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Speak to Mr. Ferguson right here. Next person on the list is Faye King.
Good evening. My name is Faye King. I live at 1810 Bolden Avenue in High Point, North Carolina. This is the first time for me to speak in front of so many people, especially such distinguished people here. But my concern is where I live at, the dirt bikes. There's a lot of complaints. I have called the police several times. I talked to Officer Baker outside about the dirt bikes. And they come through there, and it's got to the point where they started harassing me. If they see me in my car, they would come down and sit in front of my house, pop wheelies going up and down in front of my house. I'm an elderly person. I'm not well. I'm not getting any rest. To live in High Point, I've only been here 5 years. It's very disturbing and very aggravating that you can't have peace in your own home. And it's to a point, if I'm coming home, they pop out of nowhere and they get on both sides of my car. They have even met me coming down the beginning of Bolden, and some be in the back, some in the front, and they would drive with me to my house and circle around and just sit there. Now, I say something to my neighbors say, well, you should say this, you say that. I call the police say, don't say anything to them. They don't say anything to me, and I don't say anything to them. But it's just to the point where this has been going on for a long time, and it gets to the point where there are cars coming through there with all this loud music. You don't know whether to run outside or what to do, because it's just so loud. And that just really, it may not bother some people, but it's when you're not well, it's just really aggravating. And I've asked that if you can, take time out of your busy schedule to look at that and see if anything can be done about it, because it's just been going on for over 2 years now. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. I will tell you that we've had a briefing with the police department, the chief of police, and it's not just your neighborhood, unfortunately. This goes on quite a bit around town, and it's very hard for them to deal with. It's hard for them to be in the location when it's happening. Everybody has one of these, and they're able to tell when the police are there, when they're not there. It's something they're working on, but it's a very hard thing. It's just hard for them to. It's a hard thing to enforce. So, but they are working on it, and they have given us a briefing on it.
Well, I sure do appreciate it, because I have my phone with me. You can hear the noise, sound like a bunch of bees. Mm-hmm. I have been filming. I have pictures of them popping the wheelies, and
well, anything you can do to help the police would be great. If you can get photos and And they would be, I'm sure, happy to talk with you. So if you need to, again, if you want to meet, if you want to speak with someone on staff, we can make sure that you have contact information for.
Well, they have mine. I'm not a stranger to them.
Okay, good.
They have my information, and I have even told them I have pictures and videos. I need to get the videos taken off my phone, you know, because it's this serious to me. Like I said, I'm not getting any rest, and it took a lot for me to get to this house, and I would like to enjoy it. And this is not kids, this is grown people who should know better. And when you start harassing me, then we have a problem, you know, just saying. You know?
Well, we just know that we are working on it, but it's a tough problem.
But I thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming out. Yep, thank you for coming out. Next person on the agenda is Bernita Sims.
Good evening. I had a prepared speech, and I was in such a hurry to get here that I left it. So what you get from me now is not going to be what was in my head, it's going to be what's in my heart, okay? So I come to speak to you about the fair housing ordinance that you all heard, I think, about 3 or 4 weeks ago. And to say that I thought that we had progressed beyond where we were in 2007. I believe that the individuals who live in our community deserve a fair chance at having their issues heard and not have to go through the expense of traveling to Raleigh to make it happen. We talked about this in 2007 with substantial equivalency. We had a council at that time that chose not to move forward. But I thought that we had, again, progressed beyond those types of conversations and realized that the most important thing is what's best for our citizens. And I see that that is not necessarily so. When I look at, not a real argument against doing it, just the fact that we're not going to do it. And I do thank those individuals who did vote to support it. There were some of you that were on council in 2007 when we first talked about this, and we're still in the same place that we were then. I believe that it's time for us to move out of the dark ages. We're talking about a strategic plan for our community. We're talking about creating the single most livable, safe, and prosperous community in America. I didn't make that up. It's on your wall. And so I believe that it is time for this community to move forward with that process and with that conversation. I would ask that you reconsider your position and the fact that you voted against it. I know that